The first game day of the 2022-2023 season has finally arrived for our Dallas Stars, and on today's episode, we are previewing the entire matchup between the Stars and the Predators going down in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll talk about the biggest storylines surrounding the Stars going into this game, talk about the biggest storylines for the Predators, and then end the show with who is going to make the biggest impact, as well as my thoughts and predictions surrounding the game. All of this and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily podcast covering the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, your local expert on all things Dallas Stars hockey, credentialed member of the Dallas Stars media, coming to you on this Thursday, October 13th. And congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a round of applause because you made it. We made it to the first official regular season game day of the year for the Dallas Stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I got the jersey on. I don't wear the jerseys very often on the show, but figured it's game day. Got to get into the mood, get into the spirit. So I'm rocking the Miro Heiskanen road white jersey for the Dallas Stars. Very, very excited to be here. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments down below how excited you are for game day. And before we jump into today's episode, do want to take a moment and say thank you for stopping by and making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. If you're new to the YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, you can follow us on there as well. We are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. And we are also trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do consider helping us out in that capacity. Truly does mean a lot for the show. But now we can jump into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which is this game between the Stars and the Predators. And want to start things off by talking about the biggest storylines surrounding the Stars team for this game. And there's a ton of different angles that you can look at the Stars going into this matchup, tons of different things you can talk about, which we'll talk about some more things later on when we get to the actual matchup itself and the third segment of the show. But I want to start things off by talking about the new players on the team and whether or not they can make a big impact for the Stars in this game. And there's three players in particular that I want to highlight that have had good preseasons, good training camps, but now the question is, can that carry over and can these guys be effective players for the Stars in this game and throughout the entire season, whether or not some of them stay long term? And the first guy I want to talk about is Mason Marchman, who comes to the Dallas Stars from the Florida Panthers through free agency. He's been one of the most impressive players on the team throughout the preseason. He's had some very good preseason games. He scored some goals. He's been physical. He's been flying up and down the ice. He's been incredibly fun to watch. But can it carry over when the games matter, when the games count? Can he do in Dallas what he did in Florida last year, which was post 18 goals, 29 assists, and 47 points in total? 47 points for him was ninth most points on the Panthers last season. His 47 points would have been tied for fifth on the entire Stars team last season. He would have been tied with John Klingberg for 47 points on the team. This is a guy who has been brought in to make a huge offensive impact for this Stars squad. And it's very important that he's able to find his place on the team and be effective for them, because that is one of the biggest concerns for the Stars going into this season, and really one of the biggest questions. Can they find ways to consistently score goals? It's been a problem for them over the past few seasons, and really last year, outside of that top line, finding goals was very difficult for this Stars team on a consistent basis. And now you bring in a guy like Mason Marchment, who scored 18 last season, playing not top line minutes for that Panthers squad. but found ways to be effective. Still pretty young and still has the majority of his career ahead of him, but he has shown some fantastic potential in his early career so far, and he's hoping to finally assert himself as a top 6 forward that can be consistent and be a scoring threat anytime he's on the ice here with the Stars. The second guy I want to highlight is defenseman Nils Lundkvist, the newest addition of the team as far as free agents, guys you pick up off waivers, things of that nature. Things have been moving very fast for him, it seems. It just feels like a couple days ago we were talking about him being picked up by the Stars in a trade on a random Monday evening with the New York Rangers. Jim Nils sent a first-round pick to the New York Rangers for a guy that has 25 NHL games under his belt. What are we doing? And then the preseason games started, and we saw what Jim Nils was doing. He went out and got a guy who can play some great offensive defenseman minutes for this Stars team. Lundkvist has looked very sharp in his brief time with the Stars. Now the question with him is, can he come alongside Miro Heiskanen, whether physically playing on a defensive pairing or metaphorically in the stat sheet, and help provide scoring chances from the blue line? This is a team that obviously needs the help with goal scoring, hence the addition of Mason Marchment, but also the goal scoring and the offensive production needs to be more active from the blue line. And obviously the loss of John Klingberg is big for this Stars team. We need Miro Heiskanen to step up, and hopefully a guy like Nils Lundkvist can also come in and provide some pressure and give us some scoring chances night in and night out for this Stars team. As many of you have seen from some of his preseason highlights, he's very good at quarterbacking the power play, and he has a wicked shot from the top of the offensive zone. So be on the lookout for Nils Lundkvist this season. I think he can make a big splash in the Stars organization and really kind of start to build his credibility around the NHL as one of the better offensive defensemen in this league. And the last guy I want to cover is a name that many of you are familiar with, especially if you follow Stars prospects. Wyatt Johnston, who has fought his way through preseason, through training camp, is made the opening night roster and will make his NHL debut, it seems, this evening in Nashville, which is very exciting. So many people are excited to see what this kid can do at the NHL level. We know how electric he was with the Windsor Spitfires last season, and the same question as it is for Marchman and Lundkvist. Can the good play from the preseason carry itself over into the regular season, and can he play solid minutes and contribute to this team and put them in a good position to win games night in and night out? Can he keep pace with the speed and intensity of the NHL? I mean, obviously he's great with his junior club, the Windsor Spitfires, but the OHL and the NHL are very different from one another, and sometimes guys just aren't ready to make that jump just yet. I really hope that Wyatt Johnston is. I think the coaching staff really likes what they've seen from him. I think the players on the team enjoy him. I've read stories and seen headlines that there are veteran players asking the coaching staff if they can be put on a line with Wyatt Johnston. I'm curious to see who he'll get to play alongside and what he's able to do on the ice. This guy is a great playmaker and a kid who can do just a little bit of everything despite not being the biggest guy on the ice. I'm sure there's a lot of nerves going through him right now, but I bet he's excited to get out on the ice in Nashville and show the hockey world what he can do. And I know myself and the rest of you will be cheering him on tonight against the Predators. Well, coming up next, speaking of those Predators, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will highlight the Nashville Predators and get you caught up on what's been going on in their world and what we can expect from their team in tonight's game. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting information this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcast, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and even golf. You can head to betonline.net right now or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action happening around the sports world. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. All right, moving on today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. Let's shift our attention from the Stars to the team that they will be playing tonight, the Nashville Predators. The bitter, hated rival, the Nashville Predators. They have gotten off to a hot start this season. They played in Europe last weekend, and now they're back in the States. They officially got the season started, although the NHL did not do a good job of promoting those games between the Sharks and the Preds. They were hard to find on the NHL network unless you just have a cable TV or some sort of streaming box. I digress. The games happen. We now have the NHL back in the United States, and things have been rolling for a couple of days now. But nonetheless, at the time of recording this, no other games have been played yet on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And so the Predators are the class of the NHL with 4 points, standing atop, looking down on everybody. By now, other teams have played, and plenty of other teams have recorded points and have put wins in the win column. But nonetheless, the Predators start their season in Europe the best way that they possibly could, with 2 wins. Now, you don't necessarily have to put an asterisk next to those wins, but they were playing the San Jose Sharks, which if you listened to my division prediction episode yesterday, you know that I think the San Jose Sharks will finish at the bottom of the Pacific Division. Even talking with JD of Locked On Sharks, he thinks that they're going to be a bottom 5 team in the league and very much will be in contention for the Connor Bedard sweepstakes at the end of the season with the NHL draft lottery. And you look at those games that they played over in Europe. Game 1 was not very close. The Predators really dominated that game from the start and really never leapt their foot off the gas. Game 2 was a little bit closer, but you could just imagine it being that way. I really thought that we could see a split with maybe the Predators taking Game 1 and the Sharks coming out a little bit more motivated to win in front of this international audience. And while they did play better in that game and the game was closer, they were not able to pull off the win. So the Predators start the season at 2-0-0. And like the Stars, the Predators went out and added some much needed depth to their roster, and the impact is already being felt on the ice. The newest Nashville Predator, Nino Niederreiter from the Carolina Hurricanes, acquired through free agency, already has 3 goals on the season. And Ryan McDonagh, a defenseman formerly on the Tampa Bay Lightning, already has 2 assists under his belt. So the 2 newcomers, the big blockbuster names that the Predators already went and got, have already started making their impact felt on the team. This on top of good starts from their usual suspects in Duchesne and Forsberg. Both of those guys already have 2 points apiece. And they also have 2 good outings from their goalies, both UC Saros and Kevin Lankinen getting starts over in Europe against the Sharks, and both of them recording very, very solid outings and 2 wins, or at least a win apiece, 2 wins for the team in total. And so this Predators team on paper looks really good to start the year. They have the guys like Matt Duchesne coming back. They have Roman Josi coming back as well, who looked good in those games against the Sharks. Philip Forsberg, it wasn't really expected that he would be coming back to Nashville in the late stages of last season, but he gets a new deal done, and he is back with the Predators, determined and hell-bent to bring them a championship to Tennessee. This is a very talented Nashville Predators team. I have them making the playoffs this season. But at least with this game, could this be a situation where maybe the Predators are kind of distracted and maybe even a little bit overwhelmed by the circumstances? I mean, you have 2 wins to start the season. You start the season off hot, but you do it, in a completely different country, a different part of the world. You're coming back to your hometown fans, the home opener against a bitter rival. Will the Predators get in their own heads in this game? Will it be maybe too much once they get on there on the ice? Because I imagine it's going to be a very electric atmosphere, a very fun and great feeling for the Predators to know they're coming in already with 2 wins under their belt and no losses. It's probably going to be a sold-out house with high expectations for this team. The season did not end well for the Predators last season. They did not finish where they wanted to. It was really a disaster at the end of the season with injuries and a sweep at the hands of the eventual NHL champion, Colorado Avalanche. So can the Stars maybe take advantage and maybe catch this Predators team off guard? Because the Stars are in the exact opposite situation. They haven't played any games yet. They haven't gotten their first taste of NHL action. And of course, they're going to be playing to beat their bitter rivals, the Predators, and they would love nothing more than to make them lose and embarrass them on their home ice in front of their hometown fans. It's just something you have to consider. This isn't your traditional NHL home opener. I mean, sometimes you have teams that go out and play on the road before starting at home, like the Dallas Stars are doing on Thursday and then playing at home on Saturday. But this is just different. The Predators spent, a week over in Europe, and, maybe they're still feeling the effects from that a little bit. I can't imagine too much, as quite a bit of time has passed, but it's just something that you have to consider. Well, coming up next, we will talk about this game, and I'll give you my final thoughts and predictions on who wins and who scores first. More on that after another quick break. All right, let's close this thing out. Dallas and Nashville playing in the first game of the season for the Stars at Bridgestone Arena tonight. And like all Dallas-Nashville games, this should be another entertaining installment into this rivalry saga that these two teams have built with one another. It is never a dull moment and never not super intense, super fiery, and competitive when these teams get together. Dallas, like I said in the last segment, is going to be hungry and determined to get that first win of the season. It's a very important thing to get that first win of the season as early as you possibly can, and a chance to do it on the road in your biggest rival's building. I mean, that is a great opportunity and something that I know that the Stars are going to want to take advantage of and pounce on if they have the opportunity. And the Predators, on the other hand, are going to want to defend their house and also stay hot and get their third straight win to start the season. And really, for the Dallas Stars, this game is going to come down to the offense and the hope that the offense can produce or at least provide good scoring chances at a higher level than they did last season. Can the top line start off strong? I assume that we will be seeing the top line from the past two seasons of Jason Robertson, Roope Hintz, and Joe Pavelski. Can they continue to do what they've done the past couple of seasons? Can they play at a high level? And can they be the driving force for this team on offense? And then after them, can the second line also do the same thing? Can we see some good chemistry from what I imagine will be Mason Marchment, Tyler Seguin, Denis Gurianov, or maybe another forward thrown in there somewhere? Can we get consistent pressure and scoring chances and opportunities from the second line? And how well will the bottom six play? Can we get some good pressure from them as well? Which line is going to be a little bit more physical and more of the checking line? That's something that we're going to have to wait until tonight to see, but it all is going to start with how much pressure the Stars can apply to this Predators defense and whoever's in goal for them, which I imagine will be UC Saros. If I just were to guess, being the home opener and he is the number one goalie for this team, you would think it would be UC Saros in goal for the Nashville Predators. And on special teams, how will the power play perform, and how will it perform now that Jason Robertson is back in the mix? You could add him to what I imagine will be the first power play unit. Does that make the scoring opportunities more fruitful? Does it make the power play better? These are questions that we're going to need to see answered tonight. Of course, this will depend on how many opportunities the Stars get on the power play. They cannot necessarily control that, but you have to imagine they're going to get at least one or two chances to play on the man advantage, and when they do, they need to find a way to generate those scoring chances like they did in the preseason. They did not score a ton of power play goals in the preseason, but they did a really good job of generating pressure and generating those high danger chances to score goals. And so hopefully they can find a way to do that tonight and put the Nashville Predators in uncomfortable situations where UC Saros is really having to work to keep the puck out of the net, and hopefully the Stars are able to eventually beat him. And then on the other end of the ice, facing UC Saros will be Jake Ottinger, who will be under a massive microscope in this game. I imagine not just Stars and Predators fans will be watching this game, but people who like the NHL and have access to watch this on TV will probably be tuning in to see how Jake Ottinger performs in his first game back in the NHL after what he did in the playoffs last season. He needs to get off to a hot start as well, and he needs to be at his A game, playing his best, which I think he will be. I think he will be ready for this moment. We know he's put in the work. We know that he has been mentally and physically preparing to be this number one goalie for this Stars team since last season ended. You could just tell that he felt a little bit of responsibility for how things ended last season, which it certainly is not on him in any stretch of the imagination. He played fantastic, but you just know, if you look at Jake Ottinger, if you listen to the way he speaks, look at the way he carries himself, you know this is a kid who is going to come out and work incredibly hard this season and do everything he can to put his team in a position to win every single night. And of course, with this game comes predictions. This is a Stars podcast. If you're looking for me to not pick the Stars in their first game of the season, you need to find a different place. I think the Stars find a way to win this game. It's going to be close. It's going to be competitive, but it's the first game of the season. Even if things don't go perfect, I think the Stars have a shot. They won game 1 of the year last season at Madison Square Garden against the almost Eastern Conference champion New York Rangers. This is going to be an incredibly fun game, and I think Roope Hintz scores the first goal for the Stars in the game and gets the first goal of the season for this team. He did not get off to a hot start last season with the goals, and it really hurt him and the team. I think the opposite will happen this year. I think Roope Hintz is ready, and he is going to lead the team in goals this season, and it's all going to start with at least one against the Predators tonight. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you again for tuning in and for making us your first listen of the day. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Help us celebrate the first game day of the season by giving us your free subscription here on YouTube. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. You can also find and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. We are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. And we are on social media as well, at Locked On Stars on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also find my personal Twitter account at Dane_Lewis. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for a post-game recap of this game and a little bit of a preview of what we can expect in Saturday's home opener. But I hope you guys have a great Thursday. Enjoy the game. If you're somehow in Nashville and at the game, be loud, cheer on the Stars, and give them as much of a taste of home ice as you can. I know that building is going to be loud and filled with Predators fans, but if you're at the game rocking the victory green, hopefully you're able to give the Stars whatever push they need to get the victory. But I hope you guys have a great Thursday. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.